Sponsored by DCP Player, a simple way to view a DCP on any Windows-based PC.
I'm Michael Karagosian with mkpe Consulting. We're business consultants in new technology for the cinema. For the last several years, I've been working in the area of deployment agreements in various parts of the world. And many of these problems that you just heard today are problems that I've had to take a look at as well. Bringing people together is a really tough job. And if you're looking to do that, you really should be seeking some help in this. But I still, in all my business work, keep my fingers on the pulse of technology, and I'm going to give you a little look at the crystal ball that I have today. It'll surprise a lot of people, particularly in the context that we just heard about questions around DCI compliance. It'll surprise a lot of people to know that you're not able to buy a DCI compliant system today. And the reasons for that is that there's a testing program in place. Not all equipment has passed that. Only the DLP projectors you see here in the show floor have passed the DCI compliance test plan. So we have what we call non-DCI compliant equipment, but studio approved. And so it's in a transition state. We have missed this target of hitting DCI compliance. We had hoped to be there by now. And we're still working on that process. That's what I call missing the target, and that target is still to be hit. In the same time, the distributions that are out there today, the way we distribute content is not fully DCI compliant. It is secure. It is part of the transition technology that we call interop. And what has not been addressed well here is the fact that what interop and DCI compliant technologies bring into the cinema is security. This whole business of two issues to be solved around the issue of DCI content, and this topic first came up. It's the issue of color fidelity and sound fidelity, being able to convey the director's intent in the cinema in the same way that film conveys that intent. So it's not video, where you don't have control over colors and such in the same way. At the same time, we wanted to make sure that there was security in this process. So just to give some background, and that will help you understand some of what I'm going to say here on the technology front. But we may have missed the target on DCI compliance so far, and we still have that target to look forward to. We have hit the target on accessibility. And all digital cinema systems, or most digital cinema systems, if not all, can now support accessibility in the interop format and in the simply DCP format. This is the old distribution format, or the existing non-standard distribution format that we use today, and the distribution format that we're transitioning into as we move towards the world of DCI compliance. So in addition, most if not all equipment can support what we call a plug-and-play ability to support closed caption product. You can actually take third-party compliant closed caption systems and plug them into these digital cinema servers and get closed caption, an ability to show a caption to an individual user in the audience. Some of these technologies vary from digital signs that sit in front of an audience member to glasses that can print text in front of their eyes. And you'll see some of these Wednesday morning if you come to the accessibility demonstration that I'll be hosting here at the show. The one piece that we are missing is 3D subtitles, 3D text. This has not been introduced yet for on-screen use, and has been in wide discussion. There's a lot of work moving forward on that, and that is entering into the standards process this year. We'll start work on 3D text for both on-screen and off-screen use. As technology moves forward, it has to solve one of three problems, or at least one of three problems. It has to solve the lower cost of services, it has to bring down the cost of services, it has to introduce a lower cost of ownership, or a lower cost of operation, and it has to bring about an improved performance as well into with the equipment. And one area where we expect to see a lot of improvement on the services side, bringing down the cost of services, is in the area of security key management. Security key management today is handled through technologies such as telephone, phone calls, and email. It's not as sophisticated as we'd like it to be, and as the number of cinemas grows, it becomes a bigger problem, particularly as growth occurs around the world. This is a difficult problem to get to. The reason why we're concerned about security key management, and everyone should be concerned about it, is that without an open process to handle this, it makes it very difficult to have an open process to distribute content. And so open processes are being brought into this arena today. The challenge in this is really in what we call closing the loop of security key management. The key fulfillment entity is really the entity to be concerned about here. Bringing information back from the exhibitor to that key fulfillment entity is very important to ensure that we send out the right keys to the site. So you have to know the equipment is actually on site in order to send the correct keys. And if that equipment should change, if you should swap out a server, an event like that takes place, that information has to be conveyed to a wide body of people so that your movies play. So that's why this process is important to bring some automation to. The process is called facility list message. This is a message type that comes back from the exhibitor site, goes to the key fulfillment entity, and then brings about an automation of this process. To date, only one studio is actually enforcing a process of a facility list message. That's a huge step forward from having no one take this step. And I expect to see a lot more work in this area as time moves on and see an adoption of standards around this process. Lower cost systems is in everybody's mind. As people talk about, is this technology okay? Is DCI compliant technology okay? What we're really talking about is expensive equipment okay? So bringing down the cost of equipment is a challenge. And bringing down the cost of projectors is really what's foremost on everybody's mind, because that's where the most expensive equipment is. I think we've seen a lot of price reduction on the projectors themselves to date, but we're probably at a stable level now. We're probably not going to see a lot more reduction from where we are, from where things started, let's say, 10 years ago. What we do hope to see is that as media blocks move into projectors, we were hoping to see some reduction there, because we're having some shifts in the way technology is evolving. Media blocks are moving into projectors in order to support 4K technology. You can't be secure unless the media in the 4K environment. We don't have means to be secure with media blocks. Outside of projectors, they have to be inside for the 4K to be secure. So in doing so, we hope to see a common interface developed for that media block, and that would allow us then to use off-the-shelf servers. I show a Dell server here, it could be HP, IBM. This was an idea that we had on the transition of this technology to try and bring more standardized components into play, more commodity components into play. So in the process of pursuing this, I chaired a group for a short time called the Common Media Block Interface Group, and which all manufacturers participated in. We did a study. We were really looking and had a wide discussion about, is it possible to really bring about this common media block interface? Where's things going to go? What direction are we going in as an industry? And there's some very well-developed positions here. We have manufacturers who, because of the evolution of their products, put a tremendous effort and tremendous investment into doing things in a certain way. So to try and go to common media block interfaces today is very difficult across a wide set of manufacturers. And I don't think that we're going to see that step actually taken. But the step I do think that we're going to see taken is what I call cinema in a box. Digital cinema brings about a new ability to manage cinemas in digital processes much more efficiently than what was possible with film, particularly from central offices where multiple locations can be developed or can be managed much more efficiently through digital processes. This is through schedule management, through monitoring of equipment, and even operation if that was necessary. And so cinema in a box is where, in the environment we have today, we have a lot of pieces of software provided by a lot of different vendors. And it takes integration, it's a lot of work to pull that together. If the manufacturers are pulling this together themselves, they have to integrate their products with a variety of other people's products, which is an expensive process, raises the cost of your equipment. It's not an ideal way to go. So what we hope to see is that as hardware gets to be more commodity-oriented, that we start to see software become more integrated. Software companies will start developing all of these products themselves, rather than you relying on a variety of companies. We'll start to see more of this come from one manufacturer. And that way you get a family of products that actually provide the screen management system, the theater management system, your back office systems, exhibition management systems, or enterprise systems. The point of sale systems could even come into this, because point of sale is where you manage your schedules and can drive that down through your circuit. If we can't bring down the cost of projectors, we can try and bring down other elements of the cost. We can try and reduce the cost of bulbs. We can try and bring about energy efficiency to the projector itself. And we can try and improve performance, such as bringing up light levels, or technology such as LCOS on the display side. And the technology is getting lots of attention in this space right now, is laser illumination. Now, we hear the word laser projectors, and I use the word laser illumination. Laser illumination is when you light the actual imaging array in the projector. You're changing out the xenon bulb and putting in lasers, effectively, to light that imaging array, which then goes to the optics and presents an image on screen. This is not shooting lasers to the screen. So when people talk about laser projectors, they really mean laser illumination. That's the technology that's really being looked at today. And this technology has been, you've heard discussions from companies such as Kodak, Sony, Arco, and Laser Light Engines, 4 companies I know of that are actively working in the space. There could be more. The challenges of laser illumination are several. First is that the technology has to demonstrate that it introduces a cost efficiency that overcomes the cost of the technology. So that if you're paying a premium for laser illumination, the energy efficiencies it introduces should then be able to make it worthwhile to pay that premium. So this is one of the challenges that laser illumination brings on the cost side. There are regulatory issues. Regulatory agencies in almost any country are not fond of lasers shooting on screens. And the idea of lasers shooting on screens, even if it's just the laser illumination that I just described. And so a political process of getting regulatory agencies to understand this technology and to then approve of it to be used in all the countries around the world is an important step that has to be taken. Some steps have started to be taken in the United States, but even those steps aren't complete. There's a lot of work to be done on the regulatory side. Excuse me, I jumped ahead too quickly here. On the measurement side with laser illumination is a lot of work. There's going to be a variety of technologies that come forward on laser illumination. This type of technology could come forward in 3 to 5 years. It may even take longer because of these issues that you see here. In the issue of measurement, you have factors that are unfamiliar in any other technology, such as what we call speckle, or metameric problems, where we're dealing with different color interpretations. 2 people can look at a projector and see 2 different colors, slightly different colors, simply because of the narrowness of the primaries that are used in lasers. It creates a different kind of problem with human vision than what we're used to. And so there are these challenges. Just measuring them to be able to convey to you that this projector is not going to introduce these kind of problems to your audience is something that you as owners would like to know. But we don't have these methods yet to really do this in a common way. So this is a challenge for manufacturers. Licensing is a big issue. Just a simple patent search in the United States shows that there's several thousand patents in the area of laser illumination. So trying to introduce a product in this technology is like walking down a patent minefield. You have to have people who've really done the research to make sure that you can introduce a product without getting sued. This is a very tough item in the IP world, intellectual property side of things. In addition, you have some technology licensing issues that have to be considered here. The TI projector, for instance, includes in its license the prism, the optical prism that's used in the projectors. This is a key element of the DLP cinema projector. The prism you see up here on this picture is that of the Kodak technology, the technology that Kodak's actively trying to license today. It's a very different prism, but that prism was designed to be used with the DLP chip. So getting the DLP license to now include other types of prisms is another step that has to be taken on the licensing side. So there's a number of issues that have to be resolved to really bring laser illumination into the world. An area where I see a lot of effort going on today, we're starting to bloom, and I'm really pleased to see this, is the area of extended sound. Digital cinema, out of the box, comes with 16 channels of studio quality audio delivered to your theater, uncompressed. This has never been available before in the cinema space. And it's a huge innovation that's not really widely talked about. It allowed Disney last year to introduce the 7.1 DS format, which added 2 extra surround channels to the regular 5.1 sound system that we use today in cinemas. So to introduce extended sound is very easy in the digital cinema environment, and we should be expecting to see a lot more of that come down the road. And this will help differentiate the cinema from the home environment. And I think that's a very important step. That's the reason why we wanted to introduce all these additional channels. Even though we didn't have a format available, we needed to be sure that there was strong differentiation down the road. You see this interest developing through demonstration of systems such as the Sonos system, where you are using sound field synthesis to create a spatial feeling in the room, or you're using technology such as Auro 3D, where you're creating different heights of speakers to create spatialness in the room. An area that doesn't get widely talked about, but is something that I hope to see improvements on in the future, is the area of screen technology. We work with perforated screen technology. We work with perforated screens today. We've been working with that for years. And in the digital environment, it introduces a brand new problem. You have the rectangular pixel pattern of the projector that is now the potential to beat against the rectangular perforation pattern of the screen. We didn't have that problem with film. We just didn't have 2 different rectangular elements laying on top of each other. Some exhibitors have noticed this, and I've seen this in countries outside of the United States where solid screens have been used and speakers have been placed around the screen in order to overcome the issues of moire, which is what happens when you have 2 rectangular patterns on top of each other. So some people have noticed it and found it objectionable. Not all installations, I would say probably most installations, haven't seen this. But it does introduce another question into it, is that solid screens bring about more light efficiency, they help reduce your bulb costs, all these other issues get solved. So maybe there are some improvements that could be made in screen technology. On the home front, on the very high-end home systems, you see this conversation today very actively in that media, where there's discussions, very active discussions of woven screens, a technology that's not been introduced into the cinema, solid screens and perforated screens in the home environment. So there is improvements that are starting to be made on screen front. I hope to see some improvements introduced in this cinema side in the coming years. That concludes my presentation. You'll find this presentation online at mkpe.com. And if you're interested in staying abreast of cinema technology, digital cinema technology, I publish a monthly publication called MKPE Report. You're welcome to subscribe. If you write me through the site, I'll offer a discount to anyone here. Take care.